Despite a good start at the beginning of the year, Bangkok's property market faced a slump in the second quarter as a result of the ongoing political instability, which also affects supply and demand for property. Developers and buyers were understandably adopting a wait-and-see attitude as no one knew what would happen next. But after the anti-government protest ceased, the situation gradually improved. The atmosphere in the marketplace has become far more lively. A number of developers have already announced plans to launch new projects during the second half of 2010. One of these developers, Ananda Development, a Bangkok-based developer and one of the pioneers of city condominium projects along the mass transit lines, has also reviewed its development plans. The company has not listed on the stock exchange of Thailand, but is keen to make a strong impact in the market. How confident is the company about the current situation and for the prospect looking ahead for the remainder of the year?
What's your view for Bangkok's property market in the second half of this year?
Well, the Bangkok market, the macro picture and with GDP-wise, I think we're looking, we'll probably exceed 4% GDP target. It's very dependent on interest rate as well. Again, the name of the game for us and for the property market is affordability during this economic times. Interest rate is probably one of the most critical factor. Local banks are flush with liquidity, so the willingness to lend to consumers, especially in the housing sector, is very high. However, the consumer confidence is something we need to monitor. If the consumer feels they still have a significant income in the future, I think they will continue to buy. That having said that, it's at the end of the day, it's the GDP, and it's still positive GDP despite all the political issues we have. So.
Someone said that low-rise property is still in high demand, while we seem to have a lot of high-rise projects in the market now. What do you think about this?
I think to assume low-rise or high-rise in a simple category would probably be misunderstanding what the definition of that is. I think it's affordability. When you see you're in a cycle where people are still cost conscious, and you need to look at how much consumer can spend on their housing needs, whether it be a condo, high or low. At the end of the day, it's the package price. Okay, we must also understand that in a nutshell, 80% of Bangkok housing consumer can afford units less 3 million baht or less. So that's a lot of volume in the mid to low end segment. That's a game that all developers need to be aware of. It's not to say high end is not good. Purchasing power in high end with high end spectrum, I think these group of people can always buy. They have enough wealth that they can always buy. So it's all depending on your strategy.
So how positive are you for Ananda's growth for the rest of the year?
Well, our base case assumption is hopefully we won't have additional political turmoil. Assuming that, then we are in line to continue investing with our partners to about 8 billion baht more of project value. Timing is very sensitive. Political issues are something of a challenge for us, I think, for all business people to time when you launch the project. So that's probably the most difficult thing to gauge.